Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. Brought to you by Fit to Curl, a sport-specific guide to training for the world's greatest game by a guy who sure knows something about high-performance training, Olympic gold medalist John Morris, with a small assist from me, Dean Gemmell. If you're back on the ice and your muscles and joints are letting you know they're not happy about it, it's time for curling-specific fitness programs that will help you make more shots, sweep more effectively, and feel better on the ice. You can buy Fit to Curl at fittocurl.com and at your favorite curling pro shop. The skip of a new team with Steve Laycock, the only holdover from his old one. Pat Simmons, welcome back to the Curling Show.
Hey, pleasure to be here.
So, Pat, it's you, Steve Laycock at third, and a young front end of Brennan Jones and Dallin Myers. Your first event is the shootout at the Saville Center in Edmonton this weekend. Not sure if that event really is a sponsor these days. Has your new lineup been on the ice together yet, or will this event get things going?
We went up to Edmonton there about 4 weeks ago, and that was number one. So aside from that, this will be the first time.
So you went up to the Saville for this summer ice?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How well, Brennan and Dallin, a couple of young guys. I'm guessing in Saskatchewan, of course. You guys know everybody. How well do you know these guys? How much have you played them in recent years?
I played Brennan on and off the last, I'd say, 2-3 years. He played with Brad Haichert. And then last year, skipped a team there, so we played him at a Spiel, I think. We didn't get to see him at Provincials, but so I played him a little bit. Dallin, I didn't know at all. Had never played him. Know his dad a little bit, but no, I didn't. I'm just kind of getting to know and for the most part, just meeting Dallin for sure.
So this is more of the new traditional lineup where you have the young guys at front end, and I'm not going to call you old, Pat, but you're getting there, I guess. And even Steve isn't really old at all either, but we'll call you both old. What do you like about this new formula?
I like the energy. The young guys are all excited, and that's obviously carries over, which is great for us. They obviously they're going to bring some new ideas and some enthusiasm, which I think is going to be exciting for sure. Steve actually this year is going to hold the broom, so I'm going to throw last, but he's going to hold the broom. So he's got a good head on his shoulders, so I think he's looking forward to kind of a little more traditional role, I think, in what best suits him and being in the house there. And I'm actually not all that disappointed. I'm looking forward to sweeping a little bit. Oh,
I didn't know that, actually. So Steve is actually the skip, and you're the fourth if we go with the modern nomenclature.
Sure, yeah, you bet.
Interesting. Hey, it doesn't surprise me, of course, because I'm sure I'm not the only guy who noticed how much you leaned on Steve for advice on strategy over the past few years. Was that because you really appreciate his understanding of the game, or was it just so difficult to communicate with that fiery hothead Jerry Adam?
Yeah, right. No, I think obviously the former. Steve, like I said, he's got a good head for the game for sure. And I think ultimately that's where he needs to be. I think for us to be the best we're going to be, I think that's his spot. So. That'll be good. I like the way we work together. I think there aren't many things, I think, between the two of us that hopefully that we'll miss out there. So, should be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, your previous team had a few different iterations over the years there, but you had the same group for the last 2-3 years. When did you start to think that group had run out of gas?
I don't know. I guess as things have kind of been divided into the 4-year stretches due to the Olympic thing, I think obviously everyone starts to look at it. So more or less, I guess last year, the years before, we were pretty focused on the whole Olympic process still, as was everyone that still had a chance for that. So I think looking at last year, and Jerry had kind of hinted at thinking about slowing down a little bit, and it was just time. I think we had. I can honestly say I think we did everything we could to be the best we could be. And when I look back, you can always look back with some disappointment or regret. But I think we tried to do everything that we thought we should do to be as consistently good as we could, and I think that's where we got. We had certainly some success, and it was great. And but no, I think from that standpoint, I think it was just time.
I do give you guys full marks for effort because you had that big disappointment at the 2008 Tim Hortons Brier, and you followed that up with a pretty miserable season after that. But then you came back and get through the pre-trials and get to the trials, and in fact, I think you were the only team to beat Kevin Martin on his way to Olympic gold. Is that not right?
I think so. Yeah. I think that is right. Yeah. No, it was a good run. Really, other than our provincials, it was a really good year. It might have been our most consistent year as far as the Spiel season, and obviously, had a great week at the pre-trials there, and played pretty well at the trials too. Really, a couple shots away from maybe winning a couple more games there too. So I certainly, wouldn't complain about that part of it for sure.
Was that 2008 Brier? In the following season being so tough? Was it just getting over that?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think I got over that pretty quick, to be honest. I don't think that really had any effect on the next year.
It was because you changed how you were holding the broom, wasn't it, Pat? That was the problem.
Well, the worst thing that happened that year, to be honest with you, was, I'd made some changes, and I was all right with that. Obviously, that was on my own accord. So, I have no one to blame for that, obviously, and thought that things were going to be good that way. But the worst thing that happened was we had some early success that year. For the first couple of Spiels, we actually played really well, and obviously it's pretty easy to buy into things at that point. And there's no hiding the fact I definitely wasn't myself that year, and I think it showed, and that can rub off, and it just snowballed into like you said, a miserable year, certainly. So.
Well, I think you say you weren't yourself, but the take on your team always was that they went as far as you took it. I mean, you're known as a pretty phenomenal shot maker. Yeah,
well, I appreciate that, and I just it was very disappointing personally that year for sure, and I made a switch back, and you kind of. It's a game of momentum as well, and we had lost so much it was tough to even regain that near the end of the year there. So, but that off season couldn't have come at a better time for us, certainly. And I was just thrilled with the way we started this past season, given that we had such a terrible season the year before. To come out. Almost this year like we hadn't missed a beat was pretty impressive for sure, considering what we had to work through.
Well, after a few years here of yourself or Joel Jordison sort of being the teams that people have expected to come out of Saskatchewan, next year you've got Jeff Sharp playing on a rink with another old team of yours, Chris Haichert. Scott Bitts taking over essentially Joel's team, skipping that. Joel moves on to a new team. Do you think you wound up with 4 decent teams out of all that, or were you better off with 2 good ones?
I guess time will tell. I'm not sure. I guess proof will be in the pudding. I kind of like where we're at. I'm not too worried about the rest. I think obviously there's potential for definitely 4 good teams to be formed out of that, but I guess it'll depend how much work they all put in, and kind of where they set their sights and what happens from there. So, but I'm pleased with our end of things, and I guess that's all we can control.
There were some rumors about you maybe leaving Saskatchewan and playing out of another province with various different players. Was there any truth to any of those rumors?
No, not really. No, and I mean, I talked to a lot of people kind of leading up to the end of the year here, and obviously it's it can be a difficult decision as to what you want to do, but I think for me,
you've got a tough job to leave, right? I mean, you can't.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. I mean, there's lots of aspects. I mean, I've got commitments here, job-wise, family-wise, and I think the other factor that really sealed it for me too as well was actually watching this year's Brier, and just watching those guys from Alberta win that, and how excited they were, and I think it drove home a little bit just exactly what that means and why you play it, and And so it would have been really tough for me to, I guess, in a sense, I bleed a little green, I guess, and that would have been pretty tough, I think, to jump border and play elsewhere for sure.
It's interesting. I had Mike McEwen on last week, and he said that he was also pretty pumped up by last year's Brier final and Cooey's win, just the excitement of it. It's interesting. In a so-so Brier, it was a pretty memorable final, and I think really a great final game. Hey, you talk about bleeding green in Saskatchewan. There's concern always in your province about the lack of good results for your teams at the Tim Hortons Brier. And there's a proposal, I guess, out there to pre-qualify more teams to incentivize more competitive teams to play more often. I think associations everywhere, including here in the United States, have had the same discussion or are having the same discussion. Do you think the proposal will help develop more competitive teams in your province?
Well, I think so. Like our provincial, we've been pretty proactive here in our province. So our provincials has done that for a number of years now. And yeah, I got to say, we definitely, last year definitely saw a lot more younger teams getting there that may not have had that opportunity otherwise. So, just from based on our experience here in Saskatchewan and what's kind of happened, over the last 4 or 5 years when that change was made, definitely positive for sure.
What do you think's been the problem? I mean, certainly when your team's been there, you've been expected to do well, and you've done well most of the time. I think you had one awful start one year. Hamilton or Regina, in Regina in 06, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but but the Joel's team certainly didn't fare all that well, and of course they also had to have Glenn Howard make probably one of the greatest shots ever made at the Brier against them. But what do you think is the there seems to be a certain lack of depth in your province that's surprising to people who grew up thinking of Saskatchewan as such a great curling hub.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's just there was maybe a little bit of a lull in the amount of people playing. Like, what I see coming up now is I see some of the juniors or people that are just finishing juniors that have a background through their parents in curling, and so. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens over the next 5-10 years, but I think it's heading back towards the positive because it seems like it's those people that stick with it or have a better chance to stick with it. And, they've got, they grew up at the rink. They watched their parents, compete at a Brier or play competitively for so many years. And I think that bodes well. I mean, and it's, a lot of times it's a bunch of those type players just coming up through the junior ranks or starting men's that push other people to excel and compete. And, I don't know, maybe here it was just the fact that we didn't have, 3 or 5, competitive teams on the world tour, maybe pushing each other enough. I don't know what it is, but I agree with you. I mean, for a province that used to be so deep, and then we had a lot of people really slow down or retire completely from the game there, and the replacements weren't there to back them up. And I think I see that kind of moving now slowly in the right direction again, but it's taken a while.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to my good friend Eugene Ritzik, but when you're beating him in the final, there's probably a problem.
Well,
I seriously mean no offense to Eugene. He's a great guy.
No, for sure. No, and they had a great week, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things, and I think, like I say, I like to see some of the kids or the names of people that I kind of grew up watching, starting to get to that age where they're competing in some men's and things like that. I think to me that bodes well, hopefully for the future of it, and hopefully we'll get out of that some success and some friendly competition within the province. I think is really what we need most of all now to push each other.
Your parents managed a rink, right? You grew up around curling.
Yeah, my parents were managed the rink here in Moose Jaw for 10, 12 years or whatever. So yeah, I was there constantly for sure.
Hey, the CCA changed the qualifying process for the next Olympic trials from a 2-year to a 3-year time frame with a brand new team and everything else. I'm going to guess you like that change.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine you hear too from people lots, but it seemed like that last process was just a little too long. It was pretty grinding for sure, and I mean, obviously the results were there and everything went fine, but I can't see that being anything but positive for sure. Just to, I guess, if nothing else, allow people to fine tune a little bit before things kind of get locked in, and then and also just maybe to have a, if they desire a bit of a softer year or not as an important a schedule as it had been in the past.
I think about the only guy I've heard who doesn't like it is Kevin Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's Kevin Martin. So I mean, he's we're not all Kevin Martin, I guess, right? So.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess again, time will tell. But the less time of it is a little bit better in my mind. Too as well. How many years less, I guess, is the question, right?
Right.
And that remains to be seen. That's hard to say. What's best in that sense, but definitely some less time than it was last year and last 4 years, I guess, is positive in my book.
Well, with so much depth in Canada, I don't think you go, 2-3 years is not going to make much of a difference, to be honest, in my mind. And there's so much depth and so many teams playing a lot anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know how much it'll change schedules. I mean, again, it depends on the team probably, but how much of a change it'll actually be will might not be as much as people think either.
With 2 new players in your lineup who don't carry many points, you take a bit of a tumble in the order of merit. Do you like how that's decided?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, in this case, it hurts us a little bit, so we've got some work to do, but and finding a fair way to do it, I don't know really what the answer is there.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know what you do.
Exactly. It is difficult, and I know, like, it's not going to be real easy for us. I mean, we you get out to a good start and you play your way in, I guess, and that's just the way it's got to be. But I don't know. I find it, Ontario's, I guess, if all the provinces were like Ontario and sanction their events so that all these events count, then it might be a little easier for some of us that aren't there too as well. But there's getting to be more and more of those Ontario teams that are rising to the top just because so many of their events count, and I don't know, that makes it difficult, but ultimately, we're going to be in charge of our own fate, so. That's the way it is, and go out and play.
That's a hot topic over in Curling Zone right now. The points for Ontario teams in their events, and
I don't know necessarily that they've got it wrong. Maybe just the rest of the provinces do. I
kind of agree with you on that a little bit, but
I mean, it seems to be, the whole point of it is to be fair, but also to attract teams to play, and obviously it's doing that, and it must be working in Ontario, certainly. So, if that's the case, then it's hard to argue that for sure.
All right, Pat, we finished with the run back. I give you a topic. You give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words.
Sure.
Team Gushu/Furby's runner-up finish last weekend in Baden.
Didn't even know. Thanks for telling me.
I think it's guys from the West. They've got Furby in the lineup now. I asked Jeff Stoughton the same question the same time of year last year, and he said, "Oh, I just saw that. Yeah, I just noticed." You guys, you're not a fan of the game, are you, Pat?
Well, you got to take some time off. Come on, I don't have all the luxury all day of sitting in front of the computer, so I got to, I've got to get around the teammates to get caught up on these details.
There you go. You got these young guys. They're going to know all about it. These young guys will be keen. They'll fill you in.
There you go.
Kyle George.
I think he's a proud papa, if I believe correctly. I think I'd seen him a little bit there last year, and he had done a little bit of curling. Actually, I saw him in Moose Jaw here, and there's I guess the long story short, the best I can 2 words I can say there is natural talent.
Bad hair, natural talent, right? But here's a guy. There's an example though. A guy like a junior champ and sort of drifted away, like a bit like Charlie Thomas out in Alberta, I guess. But
he.
He played with you a bit one year,
he
right?
Played with us a little bit there one year. I think it was when when Chris was going to Haichert was going to firefighter school there, and he filled in with us for 4 or 5 spiels. But I mean, he didn't play a lot otherwise after the juniors there. So. Yeah, talented guy. Yeah, exactly. There's a perfect example of what we need not to happen here.
Right. Well, that's a tough age. That's a tough age everywhere, not just Saskatchewan, but
and getting tougher.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you got to try and juggle a way to make ends meet and get through school if you so desire. And I mean, there's so many things now that are going on that it's not like half the kids are going to take over the farm anymore. So
right.
Unfortunately, it's not getting easier.
Well, I say the trouble with curling is, when you're old, you have money but less time. When you're young, you have some time but no money. So it's,
exactly. Exactly.
Canada's long gun registry.
Oh, wow.
Put you on the hot seat there.
Dead set against.
Against having it?
Oh, against the gun registry?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure about the long gun registry, but that whole ordeal. Again, I come from a farm, so my parents had a few guns or whatever, and I mean, they're the furthest thing from criminals, and I mean, it's I don't know. That whole thing has, I think, been a little bit overboard.
Well, it's an urban-rural issue, I think, everywhere, but
definitely. Yeah.
We won't get into a gun control debate here, though. Guy from New Jersey and a guy from Saskatchewan. Hey, your major league team, when you were studying in Toronto, that included fellow chiropractor Jim Wilson of Oakville and Scott Bitts.
Well, Scott Bitts, I'll correct you on that. Scott Bitts wasn't on that team.
Oh, he wasn't, but Jim Wilson was, right?
Jim Wilson was. Dave Carruthers.
Dave Carruthers of Brampton, ice maker in Brampton and Chinguacousy.
And Randy Carr, a guy by the name of Randy Carr, which I can't believe I just remembered that. But Randy, fantastic crew. We had a fantastic time. Davey, obviously, I learned a lot from. He has. There's a guy that has a good head on his shoulders as far as curling goes. So I learned a whole bunch from him, and we just had a great time. A good squad and had a lot of fun out there.
Jim tells a good story about you showing up for the first time and throwing a rock, and then him not knowing who you were, and then thinking, we might have to look at the lineup a little bit here. But anyways.
No, it was all good for sure. We had a great time. Eric
Tillman, new general manager of the Edmonton Eskimos.
Yeah, I saw that coming for sure.
You did? All right, saw it coming. We'll let you off with that one. The rule change is adopted by the World Curling Federation last spring.
Wish they would have went to more of the, as far as the time clocks go, more of the think time that we're starting to do more often in the slams now. I think that was maybe a bit of an oversight for sure.
I don't think they've really thought out this no timeout sprinting coaches thing too much either. But
yeah, I don't understand. And again, I'm not up fully on that, but I don't understand that either. I mean, maybe they would have been better off just having the time and don't worry about the coaches, or I don't know what the answer is there, but to me that doesn't make a whole bunch of sense either, for sure.
Yeah, I think the better move would have been keep one timeout and don't allow coaches out. I mean,
right? Yeah.
I actually think one of the most exciting things in curling is when a team makes the wrong call. I mean, it's
it is, and I guess in a sense too, some of the entertainment curling is when the coach comes out and they're all scared to commit to a shot, right? So it's a him and haw game, and then at the end of the timeout, nothing's happened.
It's true, actually, right?
Better off, and that's actually, from a fan's point of view, that can be entertaining as well.
That is true. We're going to miss all that when they come out, and then they're talking about how the coach was sort of tap dancing around a few things. And
well, I can't believe that teams don't have it set such that either the coach is going to go out there and actually tell them what to do, and then that's it, end of discussion, or not at all, in which case, what's the whole, I don't even understand why that whole tap dance issue comes about if that's not talked about beforehand, but unless they don't have a clue, in which case, I guess, then what do? You got to try and hide that fact, right?
Yeah, and I've got to say, I've heard that.
For sure, yeah, for sure.
I've heard a few times when the coach was sort of wishing he or she hadn't been called out.
Hey, well, at least they're being honest.
Yeah. Well, actually, what was great was last year PI in the final of the Scotties when their coach, who seemed like a perfectly decent guy, but when he left, they turned to each other and said, well, what have we decided? No clue.
And that happens tons, that's a regular occurrence.
So now you really got me against this rule because I forget how enjoyable those moments are.
Well, it is. Some of those are pretty comical, so I don't know, it'd be a shame to not see that anymore, but
We won't now because they've got no time, so they're going to have to sort of sprint out and talk. I don't know, quickly, I guess. But
right, yeah. Yeah,
all right.
There's an excuse, the pressure of time, to not have that happen. So.
Yeah. Now, and finally, BHP Billiton's hostile takeover bid of the Potash Corporation of Saskatchewan.
Oh, that I don't know too much of, but we actually I'd sent them a proposal, so I'm impartial to BHP because they turned us down.
Oh, really? You turned them down they turned you down for a curling sponsorship.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah, well, they needed those last few rubles or whatever for pounds for this bid.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, you can tell I've done my Saskatchewan news homework here, Pat.
Pretty impressive. You know more about it than I do.
Yeah, well, it's the power of Google. All right, Pat, we let everybody talk about their sponsors. So we know we've already talked too much about a non-sponsor now, but tell me who some of your actual sponsors are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, we're lucky to have some sponsors on board this year. Western Financial, Borgo Tillage Tools, Remax of Saskatoon, Performance Brushes, and just a plug to our new home curling club, the Tartan Curling Club in Regina. Oh,
you're playing out of there this year, are you? Good.
Yeah, you bet.
All right. Well, thanks, Pat. I appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing this new lineup. It's always, I think the start of a new quad is interesting, and we get to see new lineups and teams, and I like the sounds of this one.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Look forward to it as well, and we'll talk to you again soon.
That's Pat Simmons on a Rider Nation Day here on The Curling Show. Remember that you can train correctly and efficiently for your favorite sport by following the curling-specific programs in Fit to Curl by Olympic gold medalist John Morris. Available at fittocurl.com and at Better Curling Pro Shops. And don't forget that you can find the music of The Curling Show's favorite band, Black Pudding, in the iTunes Music Store.
Salt blast screaming, Jim beaming, no 2 grains of sand are alive. Sow the seed, reap the speed, angel's wing on a Chinese kite, yeah!